The hammer hit wood at 3 in the morning, sharp and relentless, like some strange code only the darkness understood. If you ask anyone in that valley, they'll tell you the same thing. There are nights when the world feels off its axis, when you swear you hear secrets knocking to get out. And for 5 straight nights, Clarice Knox stood in her faded robe, face pressed to the cold window glass, counting every single strike coming from the old Whitmore barn. 3 blows, a pause. 3 more. Never a word, never a light, just that rhythm, so steady it could have been a warning or maybe a cry for help. You know what I mean. Now, in a town like ours, nothing stays secret for long. Folks talked, of course, about Nolan Graves, the drifter who showed up 2 months back, looking like hope had spit him out and kept the change. Paid cash for the derelict barn, cash nobody could trace, dragging a dog so loyal and ragged it made you want to cry. He said he needed shelter, nothing more, but the way he measured everything in broad daylight, the dawn deliveries of heavy canvas-covered supplies, the shine on his tools. It didn't add up for a man who claimed he'd lost everything. And every morning, after those all-night sessions, Nolan strolled down Main Street with a look on his face that didn't match the story he'd been selling. A quiet, knowing smile, like someone holding onto the punchline of a joke only he understood. That drove people crazy. You ever meet someone like that? It gets under your skin. It was Boone Carter, young and hungry to prove himself, who first offered Nolan a hand. Boone was the kind of kid who saw an old barn and thought about potential, about legacy. He wanted in. But Nolan just thanked him, gentle but firm. This is something I need to do myself. Most men who've lost everything are grateful for help. Nolan. He was guarding something. So Boone started watching, and Clarice, too. And soon enough the whole town had theories. One night, Boone heard it. After the hammering stopped, a laugh drifting through the dark. Not a broken laugh, not sad or desperate. Satisfied. That was what made Boone lose sleep. The idea that maybe Nolan Graves wasn't who he seemed at all. At sunrise, Boone hiked up to the barn, and what he saw knocked the breath out of him. New timbers, fresh boards, windows cut with surgical precision, floors reinforced like they were expecting something heavy and important. Nolan moved inside that space like he'd built 100 barns before, tools flashing, hands steady, eyes locked on his task. This wasn't survival work. This was mastery. Barns looking good, Boone called, trying not to sound nervous. Nolan turned, those uncanny eyes giving nothing away. Serves its purpose, he said. What purpose? Boone pressed, heart thumping. Shelter, Nolan replied, but you could tell there was more behind it. Boone noticed Rusty, the German shepherd, standing guard. The dog wore a collar that must have cost 3 months' wages, hand-tooled, studded with silver. Another detail that didn't fit. Gift, Nolan said when Boone asked. Just another answer that wasn't really an answer. By noon, Boone's suspicions were spreading like spilled kerosene. Folks gathered at Miller's General Store, swapping theories, stacking up evidence. Brand new tools. Saw him hauling something to the railroad. Works all night. Never talks about it. The word treasure started to circulate. And Nolan? He just kept working. The barn transforming from a ruin into a fortress of secrets. Inside, the place looked nothing like its past life. Workbenches lined the walls, tools arranged with almost obsessive care, the dirt floor replaced by polished planks. In the center stood a wooden structure, 4 feet high and 8 feet long, flawless craftsmanship, every joint and surface gleaming like something sacred. Rusty watched over everything, silent and loyal as always. Now here comes the twist, a shipment arriving by train. Boone, now obsessed, decided to follow Nolan to the station at dawn. Nolan loaded a single wooden crate and a stack of papers into his wagon, Rusty riding shotgun as always, and made for the tracks. Boone kept his distance, watching as Nolan met the station master, exchanged papers, and waited for the train. And when the freight doors slid open, there it was. A coffin. Not the cheap kind, but the sort you'd see at a governor's funeral, custom-built, ornate, perfect. And it was for Nolan. That's what sent Boone's mind spinning. The idea that all this secrecy, all these late nights, were preparations for the end, not a new beginning. But as Boone listened, a new character entered the scene. Miss Patterson, the woman who made the coffin, stepping off the train in city clothes, speaking with Nolan about his memorial, the inscription just as you wanted. Nolan thanked her, talking with a calm you'd never expect from a man planning his own funeral. Boone felt sick. He rushed back to town, convinced Nolan was about to take his own life. You know how small towns are. Within hours, everyone was on edge. He's not sick, Clarice argued. He looks healthier than any of us. We have to stop him, someone cried, and a plan formed. But as they headed toward the barn that evening, a new danger revealed itself. 3 strangers already there. One of them, Charles Whitman, well-dressed and cold-eyed. The other clearly muscle, confronting Nolan. You were supposed to be gone, Whitman said, menace in his tone. Plans change, Nolan shot back, voice calm but tight. Hidden in the darkness, Clarice and the townspeople listened as the truth spilled out. Nolan, real name Nathan Grayson, wasn't just a drifter, wasn't just a man running from debt. 20 years ago, he'd witnessed a murder, a judge's son, a cover-up that could have destroyed powerful families. He disappeared to survive, but the past finally caught up. Whitman's payment wasn't kindness, it was hush money, a final warning to vanish for good. But Nathan had a different plan. These people, he said, voice ringing out, showed me more kindness in 3 months than I'd seen in a lifetime. I'm done running. As tension peaked, Pete Marlowe, oldest in town, stepped forward. I don't think that's going to happen. The rest followed, backing Nathan, defying Whitman and his thug. What happened next felt like something out of a movie. Whitman's man lunged, hand on his weapon, but Boone was faster, his hammer connecting with a sickening crack, the pistol skidding across the floor. Pete booted it to Dr. Morrison, who pocketed it without blinking. Suddenly, the intruders were outnumbered, outmatched by simple resolve. Nathan then revealed his trump card. Letters, detailed accounts of the crime he'd witnessed, stashed with lawyers in 3 cities, set to release if he disappeared. I destroyed the evidence, but I never forgot the truth, he said, meeting Whitman's eyes. You can't make me vanish. Not anymore. Whitman left, defeated, and the spell over the barn broke. Nathan pulled back the canvas on his creation, a dining set, carved so beautifully it belonged in a palace. I made this for you all, he said. I'm done hiding. Tomorrow, we auction it, build a workshop, start something real. And so it was. The auction wasn't just about the money. It was a celebration, a homecoming for a man who'd spent half his life hiding, finally choosing to belong. Boone became his apprentice. Others followed. And in a year, Grayson's furniture found its way to Denver, to St. Louis, and beyond. But Nathan Grayson stayed right there, sitting on his porch with Rusty at sunset, watching over the town that saved him. The barn, the coffin, the secrets, all of it buried for good, replaced by the kind of belonging you can't buy or steal, only build, one act of courage at a time. But here's the thing, and you can argue about it in the comments. What would you have done? If you found yourself chased by the ghosts of your past, would you keep running or finally make a stand? Is justice ever really served? Or do we have to build it ourselves, plank by plank, truth by truth? If this story hit home for you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Maybe drop a super chat if you want to see more stories like this. Because out here, the frontier's got 1,000 tales left to tell, and every one of them is waiting for someone to listen.